The whispering pines of Blackwood. The Hook. In the desolate heart of Oregon, there is a stretch of woods where the GPS signals blink out, and the locals swear the shadows have teeth. For a century, Blackwood Orchard has sat abandoned, swallowed by choking fog and local lore. They say if you enter after the sun drops below the horizon, you don't just hear the wind through the pines. You hear her footsteps coming for you. And nobody who meets the woman in the crimson dress ever sees the sunrise. Act 1. The warning at the diner. The neon sign of the rusty Anchor Diner flickered erratically against the damp Oregon night. Inside, 4 college students from Seattle, Ethan, Caleb, Logan, and Jax, were poring over a paper map. They were on a cross-country road trip, fueled by caffeine, adrenaline, and a shared obsession with urban legends. "I'm telling you, it's right through this clearing," Ethan said, tapping a marked spot on the map. Blackwood Orchard, deserted since 1926. It's the perfect spot for the vlog. An elderly man sitting at the counter, nursing a black coffee, turned his head. His face was weathered, lined with deep creases of genuine fear. "You boys aren't from around here," the old man said, his voice a low, gravelly rasp. "If you value your lives, you'll turn that Jeep around and stay on the main highway." Jax chuckled, leaning back. "Let me guess, sir. The place is haunted." "It's not a joke, son," the old man replied, his eyes dead serious. "My name is Thomas. I've lived in this county for 70 years. I've seen search parties go into those woods and come out empty-handed. The few bodies we did find, their faces were frozen in pure terror, eyes wide open, like they died from looking at something the human mind isn't meant to comprehend. Do not go there after dark." Ethan smiled politely, but the group was entirely unconvinced. "Thanks for the warning, Thomas. But we've got high-powered flashlights and 4K cameras. We'll be fine." Act 2. Into the fog. By 10 p.m., the 4 friends stood at the rusting iron gates of Blackwood Orchard. The air was unnaturally cold, thick with a heavy, suffocating white fog that rolled across the ground like smoke. The towering pine and dead apple trees loomed over them like skeletal fingers scratching the night sky. "Man, the atmosphere here is unreal," Caleb muttered, adjusting the settings on his camera. "The air feels heavy." "It's just psychological," Logan said, though he gripped his flashlight a little tighter. "We heard the old man's story, so our brains are playing tricks on us." They walked deeper into the orchard. The crunch of dry twigs beneath their boots seemed abnormally loud in the dead silence. There were no crickets, no owls, just a vast, crushing emptiness. After 20 minutes of walking, they reached the epicenter of the orchard, a massive, rotting oak tree that stood completely isolated in a clearing. Surrounding its base was a dense ring of swirling white mist. And right there, beneath the twisted branches, was a figure. Jack stopped dead in his tracks. "Guys, look." Leaning against the roots of the oak tree was a woman. She was wearing a tattered, vintage crimson dress. A long, dark veil completely obscured her face. Her hands were crossed over her chest, perfectly still. "Is that a prank?" Logan whispered, his heart beginning to hammer against his ribs. "Hey, miss, are you okay?" No response. Ethan took a step closer, counting his paces. 20 feet away, he noticed something that chilled him to the bone. "Look at the ground," he whispered, his voice trembling. "The fog is moving around her, but the dead leaves right next to her chest aren't shifting at all. She isn't breathing." Suddenly, a violent gust of freezing wind tore through the clearing. The fog thickened, blinding them for a split second. When they blinked, the woman in the crimson dress was no longer lying down. She was sitting up. Act 3, the loop. "We need to go." "Right now," Caleb stammered, backing away. Before anyone could answer, a voice echoed through the trees. It didn't come from the woman. It came from everywhere at once, a hollow, grating sound that vibrated inside their skulls. "Those who disturb my rest never see the dawn." Jax shone his tactical light directly at her feet. He choked back a scream. Her feet were completely backward, twisted entirely in reverse, hovering inches above the dead grass. Run! Ethan yelled. They bolted into the darkness, sprinting back toward the iron gates. They ran for what felt like miles, lungs burning, branches tearing at their clothes. But as the fog parted ahead of them, they stopped in absolute horror. They were standing right back in front of the massive oak tree. No, no, no. This is impossible. Logan panicked, turning around and sprinting in the opposite direction. The others followed. 5 minutes of hard running later, they broke through the tree line, only to find themselves looking at the oak tree yet again. The orchard was a loop, an impossible, supernatural maze. And each time they returned, the woman in the crimson dress was floating closer to them, her backward feet gliding silently through the air. Act 4, The Sanctuary. Think. We need to think. Ethan shouted over the sound of a rising, unnatural wind. She's targeting our fear. She's keeping us trapped here. But look, when she moves away from the oak tree, she slows down. Her power is anchored to that tree. Over there, Jax pointed toward a crumbling stone structure half buried in vines. It was an old colonial-era chapel, abandoned for over a century. They ran inside the ruined chapel just as a terrifying, high-pitched screech tore through the night. The woman floated to the threshold of the chapel but slammed into an invisible barrier, unable to cross the threshold. Inside the chapel's ruined altar, Caleb stumbled upon an old metal lockbox. He pried it open with a pocket knife. Inside lay an old iron chest. Scene 6. The liberation of Sister Agnes. The sound that followed didn't belong to this world. Sister Agnes released Arian, who collapsed to the floor gasping. She staggered, convulsing, as thick black liquid poured from the wound, her body twisting unnaturally in the air as if something invisible were being torn out of her. Then a miracle. Every candle in the church lit at once. The broken stained glass glowed gold from within. The statue of Jesus seemed to shimmer with warmth. 2 more nuns appeared from a side door, calm and luminous, kneeling beside Dev and Arian to tend their wounds with extraordinary gentleness. The old priest walked slowly to Sister Agnes, opened a small vial of holy water, and poured it over her hands and face, speaking softly in Latin. Her white eyes faded to ordinary brown, human again for the first time in a century, full of grief and, finally, something like relief. Then she was gone, not dead but dissolved, a column of soft golden light rising toward the ceiling, drawn into the statue above the altar. The church fell silent and still. The priest placed a hand on Simran's head. Tonight, because you refuse to leave your friend behind, a soul trapped here for 100 years has finally been set free. She was not evil. She was a victim who made one desperate choice long ago and paid for it every day since. Go home now. Tell no one what happened here. And do not come back. Scene 7, the morning after. They made it back to the bed and breakfast just before 3 in the morning. Dev and Arian, despite everything, fell into deep, dreamless sleep the moment they lay down, as if the night were being gently erased from their minds. Simran lay awake, replaying every second, the white eyes, the black tongue, the look on Sister Agnes's face in the final moment, exhaustion turning into peace. By morning, Dev and Arian were laughing over breakfast, planning the rest of the trip, remembering nothing past walking into the church. Later, as the gentle breeze, the terrifying visage of the entity slowly dissolved, transforming back into the faint, glowing silhouette of a young woman. The malice left her eyes, replaced by a profound, sorrowful relief. She looked at the 4 boys, gave a gentle nod of gratitude, and vanished into the night air like ash blowing away in the wind. Epilogue. The heavy fog lifted instantly, revealing the clear starlit sky and the straight path back to the iron gates. As dawn broke, the 4 friends walked into the rusty Anchor Diner, pale, silent, and completely changed. Thomas looked up from his counter, seeing the dirt on their clothes and the look in their eyes. He didn't ask any questions. He just nodded, sliding 4 warm cups of coffee toward them. Blackwood Orchard still stands today, but the fog is gone, and the wind through the pines is finally at peace.